Welcome to Supernatural Japan, the podcast that dives deep into the mysterious, the haunted, and the unexplained corners of Japanese history and folklore. I'm your host, Kevin O'Shea. Today, we're heading to Okayama Prefecture, to a quiet temple in a small city, the city of Asakuchi. Inside a modest wooden box, carefully protected and revered, lies something that has captured imaginations for centuries. The preserved remains of a so-called ningyo, a Japanese mermaid. This isn't any legend. It's a story that touches on faith, immortality, and the fascinating intersection of folklore and modern science. At Enjuin Temple, a small Buddhist temple in Asakuchi City, Okayama, there's a strange relic enshrined inside a wooden box, about the size of a briefcase. Inside rests a mummified figure just 30 centimeters long, or 1 foot, with a withered, almost human face, tiny arms pressed to its sides, and a scaly tail of a fish. For generations, this eerie figure has been known as the Mermaid of Enjuin Temple. According to the temple's own documents, the mermaid was allegedly caught sometime between 1736 and 1741, during Japan's Edo period, off the coast of Kochi Prefecture on the island of Shikoku. The fishermen who found it were terrified but also fascinated. Believing it to be a supernatural omen, they brought it to the Enjuin Temple, where monks decided to preserve and honor it as a sacred relic. The temple enshrined the mermaid in a small case and occasionally displayed it during religious ceremonies. Local tradition held that the ningyo possessed the power to protect people from illness and disaster. Even in modern times, residents of Asakuchi would sometimes pray before the relic during outbreaks of diseases or other natural disasters. In 2020, as Japan faced the COVID-19 epidemic, the legend of the Enjuin Mermaid resurfaced in national news. Locals and online communities alike shared its story once again, symbolizing hope and protection in uncertain times. To understand why this relic was treated with such reverence, we need to explore how ningyo, Japanese mermaids, appear in folklore. Unlike the enchanting sirens of Western mythology, Japan's ningyo are often described as eerie, unsettling beings, with fish-like bodies and grotesque human faces. Their appearance was considered unlucky, and catching one was said to bring storms and misfortune. But their flesh, according to legend, could grant eternal life. One of Japan's most famous folk tales, the story of Yao Bikuni, or the 800-year nun, tells of a young nun who accidentally ate a piece of ningyo meat. From that moment, she stopped aging. She watched centuries pass, outliving her family, her lovers, and eventually even her country's dynasties. Seeking peace, she became a Buddhist nun and wandered Japan for 800 years before finally dying. The Enjuin Mermaid is often connected to this legend, as if it were a real-life echo of the mythical creature whose flesh could defy death itself. During the Edo period, roughly from the 1600s to the mid-1800s, Japan was captivated by strange and supernatural curiosities. Traveling sideshows, known as misemono, roamed cities like Edo, which is now modern Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. These exhibitions displayed everything from exotic animals to alleged supernatural beings, and sometimes elaborate hoaxes. Fake mermaids, mummified tengu, which were bird demons, and human-faced fish were popular attractions. Skilled craftsmen would carefully combine animal parts, monkey torsos, fish tails, and even bits of paper mache to create realistic but unsettling hybrids. These were often sold to temples, wealthy merchants, and even exported to foreign collectors. One of the most famous examples is the Fiji Mermaid, which gained fame after being displayed by P.T. Barnum in the 19th century, and it was almost certainly created in Japan. Edo period's fascination with yokai, or supernatural beings, reflected a society that was both deeply spiritual and endlessly curious about the unknown. And these exhibitions blurred the line between religion, entertainment, and art, much like the Enjuin Mermaid does today. So while modern science might debunk these relics, they still can carry the cultural DNA of a time when faith and fantasy walked hand in hand. In 2022, a scientist from the Kurashiki University of Science and Arts requested permission from Enjuin Temple to study the mermaid remains. The temple agreed, hoping to better understand and perhaps finally solve the mystery. Researchers using CT scanning, radiocarbon dating, and DNA testing found remarkable results. The upper body was made from paper, cloth, and cotton, wrapped in the skin of a pufferfish and covered with animal scales. The lower half was constructed from the tail of an actual fish. Human-like hair has been added to complete the illusion. No human DNA was found. The so-called mermaid was, in reality, a skillfully made artifact, likely created during the Edo period for sale as a religious or entertainment curiosity. It wasn't a real creature of the sea, but rather a handcrafted symbol of the human imagination. Despite the scientific findings, the Enjuin Mermaid remains a cherished relic. The temple's chief priest has said that, regardless of its material makeup, the mermaid continues to symbolize human hope, the wish for protection, health, and peace. Prayers are still offered before today, and perhaps that's what keeps its story alive. Not whether it's real, but what it represents. Even in a rational age, people still need mysteries, symbols, and stories that remind us there's more to the world than what we can measure. So what do you think? Is the Enjuin Mermaid just a clever Edo period creation, or something more? A piece of folklore that continues to breathe life into Japan's spiritual imagination? Whatever the case, it stands as a perfect symbol of supernatural Japan, where the line between myth and reality has always been beautifully blurred. Thanks for listening to Supernatural Japan. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Please leave a review and help other people discover Japan's strangest stories. I'd really appreciate it. Now, if you'd like to see photos of the Enjuin Mermaid and the Enjuin Temple, please follow the podcast on Instagram at Supernatural Japan. And I want to thank all the new people who've been coming on over. You can find some videos there as well. And check out our Facebook group for photos and videos. Those links are in the show notes. All that information under the podcast where you listen to it. Now, I'm on Blue Sky myself, Kevin O'Shea. I'm on Blue Sky and X at Mad for Maple, and I post lots of spooky things and lots of things that are not spooky as well. My hobbies include street photography, night photography, the different places I live. So I share a lot of pics. Come on over and check those places out. Now, it is spooky month. It is spooky season. It is October. And for many of you It's your favorite time of year. So please help repost this podcast, recommend it to your friends, and help us grow. During spooky season, I'll be posting 2 episodes each week. And then back in November, once we get to November, I'll be back to my once a week schedule. And please shoot me an email at supernaturaljapan@gmail.com if you have any ideas or stories, any spooky, weird experiences, or if you'd just like to connect with me, Kevin O'Shea, and say hi. I'd love to hear from you. So again, that's supernaturaljapan@gmail.com. And you can support the podcast over on Buy Me a Coffee with a one-time donation, or you can become a member. Links are on the show notes, and all of this lovely equipment I've recently been upgrading to is a result of the amazing support over on Buy Me a Coffee. So thank you so much to all of you who have supported the podcast that way. But remember, again, you can support the podcast simply by reposting this episode on your social media. All right, well, that's it. Until next time, stay curious and stay supernatural.